Fraser Island, Great Sandy National Park. Regular habitat. Building the sandmass, wind, waves and changing ocean levels. In the course of the last 2 million years, sea flows and waves have cleared sand north from the mainland rack of New South Wales and southern Queensland. Sand aggregates and covers the bedrock to shape hills corresponding to the coast, leaving just pinnacles revealed, the present headlands. Solid coastal breezes blow some free sand inland into high illustrative, hairclip molded hills, which spread to inundate everything in their ways and structure a grouping of covering ridges. Fraser Island, and Kalula are leftovers of old sandmasses that once extended 30 kilometers east. Significant hill building has proceeded in scenes as ocean levels rose and fell, framing a grouping of in any event 8 covering ridge frameworks of various ages. Some are over 700,000 years of age, the world's most seasoned recorded grouping. These cycles keep molding the sandmasses. Sand blows. Sand blows structure when solid coastal breezes get through the vegetation cover, driving sand from the disintegrating hills. Sand blows inundate backwards in their way, at a paces of up to 1 meter every year. New sand blows can likewise frame when the settling plant cover is harmed by fire and wind, walkers or vehicles. Espresso rock. Dispersed along the seashores are outcrops of delicate, dim earthy-colored, espresso rock comprised of sand grains feebly established together by natural matter, plant remains. Espresso rock is a leftover of when the sandmass extended further to the ocean, and the presently uncovered espresso rock was further inland and a piece of the sandmass soil layers. Hued sands. Hidden pieces of the wind-blown sandmasses of Caigari and Kalula are hued sands, the apparent pieces of more seasoned sand that has bound with earth into a feebly merged mass. These yellow, earthy-colored and red tones were made as iron-rich minerals stained the sand an unpredictable cluster of tones and tints more than millennia. Terrific models arise where wind and downpour dissolve the sandmass, uncovering this delicate more established center. The pinnacles and Red Canyon are striking models. Lakes in permeable sands. Incredibly, every one of the freshwater hill lakes in the Great Sandy National Park is novel fit and shading. In excess of 40 ridge lakes happen here, over portion of the known world aggregate. Lake Boomanjin, the world's biggest roosted lake at 200 hectares, and Boomerang Lakes, a portion of the world's most noteworthy at 120 meters above ocean level, are on Caigari. Roosted lakes, for example, Birrabeen and Burringora, Lake McKenzie, on Caigari and Lake Puna in Kalula are the most well-known kind of lake in Great Sandy National Park. These lakes foster when a saucer-molded, hard dish, of natural garbage, sand and peat structures in a downturn between rises, empowering runoff and water to gather and gradually channel to the water table beneath. Blast lakes structure when a portable sand ridge dams a conduit, as a rule in more youthful rises near the coast. Intrigued guests can stroll to Lake Wabby on Caigari, from the eastern seashore. Window lakes, for the most part found at low heights, structure where the ground surface dips under the water table level and loads up with groundwater. Some window lakes are flooded by sand rises. All the freshwater lakes are low in supplements and backing not many plants and creatures. Most lakes have just a few fish animal types. Eli and Wongulba creeks are noted for their progression of completely clear water, primarily restricted surges of groundwater from the sandmass. They stand out from the brilliant earthy-colored, tannin-stained rivulets and drainages that stream into Lake Boomanjin. How are woodlands made on exposed sand? Most plants developing on sand draw mineral sustenance from 2 impossible sources. They take the fine mineral covering from grains of seashore sand, turning the yellowish grains white, and furthermore assimilate limited quantities of climatic minor elements, washed into the sand by downpour. Rotting plants return these minerals to the sand. After some time, minerals are amassed in the sandmass, giving supplements to help a progression of backwards types, from seaside pioneers and shrubby forests to tall rainforests. As each progressive hill shapes, a thicker, more profound supplement layer creates, ready to help taller, more perplexing timberland. Yet, on Great Sandy's more seasoned hills the supplement layer has been filtered by water past the scope of even profound tree roots. The tall timberlands are supplanted by hindered forests, bushes and low heaths. This wonder, retrogressive progression, is of worldwide logical interest. More seasoned hills by and large lie toward the west on Caigari, overlaid halfway by logically more youthful ridges toward the east. Seashores, home in moving sand. Life is bountiful. Pippies, shellfish, and moon snails live in the moving intertidal sand. Sand bubbler crab settlements leave examples of minuscule sandballs. Phantom crabs abandon across the sand around evening time. Watch out for bluebottles with long blue stingers, once in a while washed shorewards following solid breezes. Junk, for example, jellyfish is nourishment for rummaging crabs and birds, adding supplements to the sand. Pioneers and seaside woods, holding rises together. Holding the seaside foredunes together are salt open-minded pioneer plants, pigface, with meaty rakish leaves and purple blossoms, goatsfoot plant, with purple trumpet blossoms, and seashore spinifex, that downers over the ridges and traps sand cleared from the seashore by the breeze. Pioneer plant species start supplement and soil advancement. Their foundations have microbes that convert airborne nitrogen into nitrates that enhance the dirt. Little, strong trees, for example, seashore casuarina, beachfront banksia and pandanus, are a more perpetual settling power on the foredunes. They secure the wattles, hopbush, tuckaroo and hindered eucalyptus trees from unforgiving salt-loaded breezes. Bountiful banksia blossoms give copious food to the bugs and nectar, taking care of birds in these waterfront backwoods. Blended timberland. Shielded from the harshest salt-loaded breezes, and developing where more extravagant sand starts to create, trees in the blended timberlands and forests are bigger than those of the waterfront woodlands, albeit more hindered than similar species in the tall eucalypt backwoods. Flames clear the understory of foxtail sedge, bracken, blady grass, and fallen leaves and twigs, and give an ashbed to new seedling development. Over the long run, trees foster hollows that haven settling birds and nighttime floating possums. Insect homes are prominent on the backwoods floor, and in excess of 300 types of insects have been recorded in Great Sandy. Tall eucalypts. Ensuring the backwoods center here are tall eucalypt trees, including smooth yelped woods redgums and scribbly gums. These tall trees diverge from decorated yapped bloodwoods, string-woofed satinaes, and blackbutts, with their harsh yelped bases and smooth, light upper appendages. Tall eucalypt woodland develops on the edges on the high center rises in the focal point of the sandmass. It encompasses the focal woodland center, shielding the rainforest from the drying winds and salt. After fire, eucalypts of the tall woods recover from seeds delivered into the debris bed. The consumed trees additionally sprout new leaves from extraordinary buds secured under thick bark, and from lignotubers, woody tissue connected to the root framework, underneath the ground. Blackbutt trees were the pillar of the wood business on Caigari. Guests can see remainder stumps of previous Goliaths and huge, safeguard-molded scars close to the foundation of certain trees, where indigenous individuals eliminated the bark for their gunyahs, covers. Rainforests. The inclines and valleys of the center, high hills have the best assurance from winds, get the most elevated precipitation and have the most profound available soils. They are overwhelmed by colossal brushbox, with bark, stockings, on their lower trunks and smooth red appendages, and the tall, straight-trunked, wiry woofed satinae, whose long roots arrive at rich supplements covered somewhere down in the ridges. In different regions, lichen-covered trunks of Goliath kauri and circle pine arise above lily-pilly, quandong, brushbox, and strangler figs, hung in plants, orchids, greeneries and greeneries. Walk gradually to see bright organisms growing on decaying trees, their fine strings gradually deteriorating the wood. These rainforests are known as plant timberlands. Along their drier edges, the low plant woodlands of little-leafed dark myrtle, carol, scowers, can be seen on strolls from Central Station. Hollows in more seasoned trees offer settling destinations for warm-blooded creatures and for birds including lord parrots, yellow followed dark cockatoos and sulfur peak cockatoos, regularly heard shrieking from treetops. Brushtail possums are dynamic around evening time, as are sugar lightweight flyers and flying foxes. Forests. Wallam people group overwhelm the more established Western rise frameworks, where the principal supplement layer has filtered down past the scope of tree roots. Just bushes and more modest trees can develop on this generally barren upper sand layer. In occasionally waterlogged regions, paperbark and wet heathlands fill in thick stands. Scribbly gum, pink bloodwood, Wallam banksia, with serrated leaves, and dark casuarinas, with needle-like leaf stems, develop as low trees over the heathy understory. Take a gander at the hard Wallam banksia seed cases, which will just open after the warmth and smoke of fire, delivering seeds that exploit the absence of rivalry after a fire. A large portion of Great Sandy's plant networks react to the recurrence, season and power of flames. Heaths and bogs. Damp, treeless, verdant fields, bordered by paperbarks, brilliant heath and bog banksias, feed tea-shaded water to rivers and lakes. These are Wallam heathlands. Continuous fire keeps up lush heathlands by repressing tree development. This jelly environment and nourishment for pixie wrens and ground-staying birds, for example, quails and ground parrots. Heaths and bogs are home to corrosive frogs, which can endure the somewhat acidic waters, the innocuous freshwater snake, and a few shellfish. Mangroves, backwards on intertidal mudflats. Multitudes of gnawing bugs and a periodic float of disintegration mean mangroves are not generally wonderful spots to visit. However, the sanctuary of their underlying foundations and the profound layers of decaying leaf litter make mangroves ideal nurseries and taking care of reason for much marine life in Great Sandy. Mangroves are additionally significant in the food networks of close-by heathlands. Extraordinary sandies mudflats and sandflats are significant taking care of reason for transitory shorebirds, for example, bar-followed godwits on their departures from the northern to southern sides of the equator. Culture and history. Individuals of Great Sandy. First occupants. Archaeological proof proposes Aboriginal individuals have lived in the Great Sandy region for in any event 5,000 years, however they may have been here far longer. Butchulla individuals occupied Caigari and the adjoining territory, living a mind-boggling, independent lifestyle personally associated with the seasons, the land, and life on it. The wealth of marine life along the coast gave the Butchulla numerous food varieties, including fish and shellfish. Food likewise came from the woods, alongside bark for kayaks and sanctuaries, plants for nets, and grasses and piccabean palm fronds for bins. Today, Caigari contains legacy locales of profound, social and archaeological importance. Middens, relic dissipates, scarred trees and camping areas give testimony regarding the way of life of the Butchulla public. Native life was upset not long after European settlement during the 1840s. Dispossession of land and diminished admittance to local plants and creatures made disturbance convictions and practices, and infection, liquor and opium annihilated the conventional lifestyle. Getting free from land for field and the approach of lumber reaping during the 1860s hurried the death of nearby ways of life. By the last part of the 1800s, most leftover Aborigines from the area were moved to a mission settlement on Caigari. A progression of missions followed until the last Caigari mission was disbanded in 1904, when most Aboriginal occupants were shipped off different Queensland missions, including Yarrabah close to Cairns. Numerous nearby spot names are Aboriginal. Today, relatives live nearby and are endeavouring to share their insight into a once broad lifestyle. Changing European employments. The originally set up account of the locale is from Cook's Disclosure Journey of Australia's East Coast in 1770. Nonetheless, references to the space in Old Portuguese route graphs, and lead lodes mined in France somewhere in the range of 1410 and 1627 AD, found on one of Caigari's seashores, recommend Europeans may have visited the area a long time before Cook. Early impressions of the district were not positive. Matthew Flinders, the main English voyager to go to Fraser Island in 1802, noted, "Nothing can be envisioned more fruitless than this promontory. That insight changed in 1842, when pioneer Andrew Petre detailed great peaceful grounds and brilliant woodlands nearby. This pulled in pilgrims, who munched ponies, sheep and cows at Kalula and Kaigari. Logging of important kauri pines started on Kaigari in 1863 and Kalula in 1866. After the Gympie dash for unheard of wealth of 1867, interest for lumberblast and logging extended to turn into the locale's significant industry for over a century. Limited scope digging for hefty minerals, mostly rutile and zircon, started with mining leases allowed on Kaigari in 1949. Sand mining investigation expanded during the 1960s, drawing in resistance from preservation disapproved of people and local gatherings. Their endeavors in the long run finished sand mining in Great Sandy in 1976, while logging halted in late 1991. Public parks were pronounced in the northern piece of Kaigari in 1971, with more increments in later years. 1992 saw the critical posting of Kaigari, Fraser Island, as a World Heritage Area. Occupants have utilized the region for entertainment since the 1870s. The travel industry developed gradually. The principal business visits and convenience on Kaigari holding off on beginning until the 1930s. This changed with the contentions encompassing sand mining during the 1970s and suspension of signing in the mid-1990s, which significantly expanded guest interest. The 1992 World Heritage posting of Kaigari expanded worldwide appearance. The test for the present administration is to adjust the preservation of the locale's regular and social resources with expanding openings for individuals to appreciate the grand upsides of Kaigari, World Heritage Area. Thanks for watching. Bye now.